I know how bad this sounds, but
remember when I told you that Google's sideloading changes were concerning? Well, it turns out I wasn't worried enough, and now F-Droid is calling it a death sentence. Google is setting a requirement that only they can fulfill, forcing developers to go through Google and killing off F-Droid. Thousands of apps gone, countless of users stranded, developers making this choice of having to hand over their information to Google and pay Google, or just stop making apps. Now, for those who missed my initial video, starting in September of 2026, Google is now going to be requiring all Android app developers to register with them. And you might be going, well, isn't that how it works? No, this is also outside of the Play Store. This means your legal name, your address, your government ID, and app signing keys will now have to go through Google's new portal, which they already preview what this looks like. For context, right now, you can simply install something like F-Droid, or you can sideload an APK, so you can actually install any software you want on your device from any developer in the world. But under what they're proposing in October of 2025 is when Google will officially have early access testing begin for this. March 2026, all developers can register. September 2026, enforcement begins in select regions, is what it shows here, but then a global rollout is planned to continue through 2027. And of course, Google's justification is that it's all about security, all of the malware on these sideloaded apps, these open source apps, they're coming to get you. They actually cite 50 times more malware from internet sideloaded sources than from the Play Store. Their arguments can boil down to the fact that, 50 times more malware on Windows comes from the programs you download from your browser than from the Windows Play Store. It doesn't mean that much. I did say in my last video, this is about control, not just security. The timing is very suspicious. This is right after the Epic lawsuit, where Google is now being forced to allow alternative app stores. So they're now creating a policy that kills those alternatives before they can even compete. Now, my last video did talk about this, but I don't think I fully grasped the impact that this is going to have, and I even downplayed how this might impact F-Droid. I don't know what this means for F-Droid. Does this mean that F-Droid developers can still go ahead and be verified, and we can still install a third-party app store? We don't know yet. Well, now we know, because F-Droid has come forward, and they say for the past 15 years, F-Droid has provided a safe and secure haven for Android users around the world to find free and open source apps. There is nothing that is proprietary that you can get from the F-Droid store. It's completely free software. Now, I know it's a funny name if you've never heard of F-Droid, but I promise it's relevant regardless of who you are. To quickly just explain something about F-Droid, this is very important. The way it works is if you're a developer, you publish your open source code publicly on something like GitHub, and then the F-Droid team will review the code, check it for trackers, ads, privacy concerns, and they're pretty much checking to make sure you're installing safe software on your phone. Then they build the app from the source code and they sign it cryptographically. Why do developers publish to F-Droid instead of the Play Store? Well, it's because some hobbyists especially, but simply just privacy-respecting people like DuckDuckGo and Mozilla and many other important projects are people who don't want to actually be supporting Google, their fees, or reveal their identity. They might be building tools that Google wouldn't allow, like ad blockers or YouTube clients that many of you love out there. And ultimately, some people just believe in software freedom and basic privacy. We have an app on F-Droid called Plexus that lets you all submit ratings for common apps that you use on de-Googled operating systems so that people can more easily see what will and won't work when they switch over. So it makes it easy for you all to move to de-Googled operating system. We only publish this app on F-Droid for many of these reasons. We don't want to give Google our personal information just to distribute a free community tool that anyone can get from GitHub. It's pretty straightforward. If you want a weather app that doesn't sell your location to data brokers, F-Droid has it. If you want a calendar app that doesn't mine your schedule for ads, F-Droid has it. It's literally how your phone should probably work without big tech companies following you around everywhere you go. And you can still, to this day, right now, try out F-Droid for yourself if you don't believe me. It's right there on their site, fdroid.org. I'll leave it down below. With that important context out of the way, you're now going to understand why they have created this impossible choice for developers. And this is from the F-Droid blog. Essentially, if you're a developer, you now have to pay a registration fee and upload personally identifiable documents, including government IDs, and Put simply, the F-Droid project can't require developers to register their apps through Google, but at the same time, they cannot take over the application identifiers for the open source apps they distribute. Put simply, Google is setting a requirement that only they can fulfill, forcing developers to go through Google and killing off F-Droid. Thousands of apps gone, countless of users stranded, developers making this choice of having to hand over their information to Google and pay Google, or just stop making apps. And what's even crazier is that F-Droid's users will be left adrift. This is from their blog, with no means to install or even update their existing installed applications. How many users is that? They don't know, because they don't have to track users, and they don't have a registration process. You just download F-Droid and download apps. Now, I'm really glad that the F-Droid blog also tackles this security situation, because this is what Google is really leaning into. They say how sideloading software can be construed as carrying some inherent risk, but it is false to claim that centralized app stores are the only safe option. And they reference the fact how Google Play itself has multiple times hosted its own malicious applications. F-Droid, on the other hand, is only free and open source software. The code can be audited by anyone out there. The build process and the logs for those build processes are public, and they even have reproducible builds to ensure that the software is exactly what the source code is supposed to be. F-Droid is building transparency, not blindless trust in a corporation. And they also bring up a really good point, because I think Google does deserve props for some things they're doing in the security front. Google released something called Play Protect, which on any device, even on apps from F-Droid, this actively scans applications to see if they're doing things that are clearly malicious. Google already can disable malware that they find on your device. It's already a built-in feature, and it applies to all software regardless of where it comes from. So what is developer registration actually adding here? Is it security or control? You decide. Another amazing point they bring up is that this isn't just about one app store. We're targeting F-Droid because they did amazing coverage for this, and they would be highly impacted by this. But this is more about principle. They talk about how if you own a computer, you control what runs on your computer, even on a MacBook. Windows doesn't require developer registration. Mac OS doesn't require developer registration. You can use a Mac without an Apple account and still download software onto it, not from the App Store, but from your web browser. Linux doesn't require developer registration nor user registration. So really, why should your phone be different? People run these desktop operating systems, even in corporate high security environments, and guess what? They're not getting hacked 50 times extra because you can still download things from a browser. This to me is a very massive slippery slope. It starts with malware protection, and it leads to more control going into Google's court and more or less killing the Android open ecosystem that people have grown to love, which honestly at this point is the only thing separating Android from iOS. And this will develop to end with censorship and control. This already has happened. We see examples already with Apple and Google complying with Russian censorship, which is pulling VPNs from the App Store. We just saw this week how this can even become a political thing, where if whatever party's in power doesn't like a certain app, they will get it pulled from the App Store. And there's even websites now dedicated to this. I found this doing research in this video. It's called applecensorship.com, and it literally talks about different things that are blocked all around the world in different regions. And remember that on an iPhone, you can't really download apps off of the App Store. So if something's blocked, you just can't access it on an iPhone, and that's what Google's trying to create on Android. What these companies are doing is literally creating an environment where anyone can ban anything they want in any region, just because these companies are scared of losing a little bit of money and a little bit of control. But let's, again, as always, talk about what to do. This needs to be, I don't want you all to be apathetic. First, the easiest thing to do, install F-Droid, install any third-party app store. It doesn't matter what it is, but F-Droid's a great starting point. I'll leave a link down below. You have at least until September 2026, so get your favorite apps from there while you can. In fact, some apps you get from the Play Store might also be on F-Droid if they're open source. Now, if you're using a custom ROM, you're probably fine for now. This only affects Google Play Services devices. But here's the thing, even if you're safe currently on a custom ROM, this still impacts everyone you know, and eventually it will affect you too. Because when developers have to choose between registering with Google or giving up, a lot will just quit. Your favorite apps might just disappear because the developer refuses to KYC themselves through Google and they don't want to deal with the hassle. It's already hard enough being an open source developer, practically working for free and giving you all amazing software. But add this frustration to it and a lot might leave. So this does impact you. I hope I don't have to give such personal reasons for you guys to care about this and you see the bigger picture, but I gave a personal reason anyway. Spread awareness, share this video, talk and share this with other Android users and communities. This impacts millions of people who don't even know this is happening. Google's intention is to keep this very technical and low key, but you guys can really change the kind of way this is talked about publicly. And also donate to F-Droid. They're not running on a huge budget and you can really support them. Those are great starting points, but they're also a bit of workarounds. We also need to target things a little bit more directly. So contact representatives. They actually link some things in the F-Droid blog. So write to your elected officials, especially if you're in the EU. Right now, the Digital Markets Act is really big and you can lean into that pretty heavily. Tell them why software freedom matters. Europeans get this. They're talking about digital sovereignty and they don't want to be trapped in a bigger big tech world run by US tech companies. So especially in Europe, you have a lot of things to lean on there. On our website's resources, we also reference a lot of digital rights organizations that are doing some amazing work. So definitely check these people out as well. F-Droid does say to sign petitions when eventually they inevitably come up. And of course, you can just contact the DMA team directly, especially if you're in Europe. Please, please, please take some time to do this. Make it personal. Don't just do an AI generated thing. Actually share a little bit about yourself and how you feel about this. I'll leave links to all of this in the description. And one quick thing I need to address from my last video before I get a bajillion comments about this again. Semantics. Yes, people, it is called sideloading. I agree that the term reinforces a concept that shouldn't need to exist. I get it. I know the point you guys are trying to make, but that is the reality of the situation. We need to call it what it is. It's currently called sideloading. Default app installation and behavior is through the Play Store. Otherwise, it's still called sideloading. F-Droid themselves calls it sideloading twice in their own article, and I don't think we should be schooling F-Droid on what we call this. Politicians are going to call this sideloading. A lot of them aren't super techie, so let's please keep it simple for them, and we'll come together and just be pissed off and unite against Google. Not over grammar, please. So get F-Droid installed as soon as possible. Show them your support. Donate to them if possible. Stay informed. This is evolving. You can follow their blog. You can subscribe to us. I'll definitely be doing more coverage of this, so don't miss out on that. And also, I know some of you think I'm being dramatic. It's just an app store, Henry, but it's not. This represents the last real safe place for free and open source software in the entire mobile ecosystem. Sure, there's like 1,000 people maybe who use Linux phones, and I'm sure they're having a good time over there, but most of us are using iOS or Android. And if this gets killed off on Android, that really sucks. And once it's gone, and we're going to spend the next decade trying to claw it back. We do have time to fight this, but only if we start acting now. So don't lose hope and don't be apathetic. Do something, get active. Support options for us are down in the description. If you like our content, please like, share, subscribe, and of course, please check out all the links for everything that I referenced throughout this video. The more people who know what's going on, the harder this will be to implement quietly, so this is a really big deal. See you next time on Techlore. All the ways to support us, again, are down below. And if you want to see what's also happening in the encryption scene right now, which is a global fight in all pretty much major countries, check out my video. It talks about the encryption battle as well. That's another big one, so please give that a watch. And I'll see you next time. And yeah, try to chill out too. I know this is heavy stuff, so see you guys soon.
Oh, I can't shake this feeling, 'cause I think I'm falling for the villain, and it's not looking like